Thank you. The gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Casten, who is also the Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Investor Protection, Entrepreneurship, and Capital Markets, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for a long day. Want to start just with a statement that I think is obvious, but all of you do a wonderful job, and I appreciate your work to minimize the risk of loss to your equity capital while still honoring your obligations to shareholders to maximize return. If any of you disagree with that statement, please chime in. But I want to start just because I want to focus on risk and return. 2 years ago, Mr. Diamond, Ms. Frazier, Mr. Moynihan, and Mr. Scharf in a Senate Banking Committee, Senator Warren asked you, and you all, I believe, essentially acknowledged that you were, quote, using new tools and services to gauge climate risk to your portfolios. Could put the question to all of you, but I want to focus on you, Mr. Scharf, because I think you have the largest mortgage book. In the 2 years since, are you changing your lending, your diligence standards for properties that are exposed to climate risk, wildfires, forest fires? You've had 2 years to gauge those risks. Have you changed your lending standards in those regions?
Congressman, it's something that we talk a lot about, and we've always factored some of those risks into the properties that we financed, and so it continues to be something that we talk about. Whether or not we've specifically changed the magnitude of that I can't answer right now.
Well, and I don't mean it as a critical question. There's been some data suggesting that there's a disproportionate flow of those mortgages to Fannie and Freddie in those high-risk areas. And if you don't know off the top of your head, we can follow up offline. But there's been a lot of reporting on that, and I'd like to see the data because it's obviously a concern if we're moving risks onto the taxpayers.
We can certainly go back and look at the data and share with you.
Shifting to the return side of the question, Mr. Diamond, I think this is a dumb question, but I'm sure you'll tell me if it is. Would you support legislation that compelled you to preferentially invest in industries that were struggling to attract capital?
I would not.
Okay, I assumed that would be your answer. I ask that because over the last 12 years, the entire oil and gas E&P sector is running at about a 7 times multiple, and NextEra, Tesla, First Energy, all of the sort of leading lights of the clean energy space are running at 10 times that number for the most part. And yet we are seeing a lot of my colleagues suggest that we should prevent the financial sector from investing in areas that are getting high returns out of some completely bastardized theory of woke capitalism, whatever that means. The State Financial Officers Foundation, a right-wing backed group, is intentionally promoting that. They are pushing state legislation across the country. And as recently as July, West Virginia's treasurer announced that he was canceling hundreds of millions of dollars in state contracts to 5 banks, including yours and Wells Fargo. I think you said that their analysis was disconnected from the facts. I think Wells Fargo said that you disagreed with the decision. Subsequent to that, Federated Hermes has announced that they are no longer going to fund this group. As of a few weeks ago, JP Morgan and Wells Fargo were both funding the State Financial Officers Foundation. It's not listed on the website anymore. Are you still providing resources to this organization that is spreading policies that are encouraging you to invest in places that are struggling to attract capital?
I don't know the answer. We'd be happy to get back to you, and I'll look at it. Probably can't.
Okay. Mr. Scharf, is Wells Fargo still supporting the State Financial Officers Foundation?
I don't know the answer, but I'm glad to take a look at it.
Can either of you commit while we're here that you will not continue to fund an organization that is spreading disinformation, that is blocking the capital sector from freely allocating capital?
I won't commit until I read something, but if that were true, we probably would cancel it.
Mr. Scharf?
I agree with Mr. Diamond.
Okay, well, as we look at their website today, the only people supporting this are groups with active agendas. I want to see you continue to minimize equity risk. I want to see you continue to earn shareholder returns. And I want to leave a better planet for our kids than the ones that our parents left to us. And I would hope that you can all work together with us on that. Thank you, and I yield back.